Hey guys, and welcome to my quest guide for the 2010 Members Quest, FairyTale Part 3, Battle at Orc's Rift. So to start this quest, you will need to have completed FairyTale Part 2, Cure a Queen. Skills required, you will need to have 59 Magic, 54 Farming, 51 Thieving, 37 Summoning and 36 Crafting. Items required, you will need a bucket of milk, your Draymond or Lunar Staff, a pair of secateurs. The magic secateurs and the one on the tool belt won't work. You will need a hammer, and the tool belt will not work for that either. Extra things, you will have some combat to do, so make sure you've got armor, weapons, potions, food, whatever you need for combat. And a couple of extra things, if you've got level 85 fire making, if you bring 8 willow logs, you'll be able to get 10,000 free fire making XP. And bring 4 planks, just normal planks, and 8 nails. You'll be able to repair the bridge part way through to save doing that later. Enemies to defeat, there are General Grumbold, General Shredflesh and General Brigiff. Each are level 85. Some Orc Warriors at level 79, but that can be avoided. And the Fairy Godfather at level 84. So let's get started with the quest. So to start the quest, we need to head to the Fairy Resistance HQ, and there is another step we can do that makes it a little bit easier before that. So if you take Nuff's certificate, which we got in the previous quest, if you've lost it, you can get it from the house just northeast of the bank in Xanaris, and go to the Fairy Ring in Xanaris to be directed to the Sparse Plain. Coordinate is BIR if you're not automatically directed. But when you get there, speak to Fairy Very Wise and you will give her Nuff's certificate, which will allow you to be able to get to the Fairy Resistance HQ without needing to carry the certificate with you. And she will also offer to teleport you there directly to start the quest. So let's get started. When you get to the HQ, run to the southeastern section and speak to the Fairy Queen. So go through the chat and then choose option 2, yes I'll help, and then choose accept quest. When you finish going through the chat, go and speak to the Tooth Fairy in the same room. Go through the chat with her. And then turn on the projector. You'll get some options of which type of briefing to show. So you can either choose option 1 to show the briefings or option 2 to show non-flickering briefings. I will choose the non-flickering one. That makes it a little more epilepsy friendly. So if you do have any problems with the flickering, make sure you choose option 2. You can only choose this once, so you have to choose it now. And then just watch the cutscene. So after the cutscene, speak to the Tooth Fairy again if it doesn't automatically start chatting, and choose option 5, right, I understand about fairy tooth magic now. And then option 1, yes, I'm ready. Then click on the projector again to watch another briefing. And it'll go into another cutscene that you can't skip, so just wait until that's gone past. So same again, after the cutscene, speak to the Tooth Fairy. Go through the chat. And choose option 3, yes, I'll go and collect your wand. So the next section is where you'll need the secateurs and a hammer. If you haven't brought one, you can get them from the room in the northwest on the floor. But then click use the hammer on the secateurs to get a tooth extractor. And then run to the southwest back to the fairy ring. So this next section, you will need to make sure you've got your tooth extractor and a bucket of milk with you. If you have banked any items, go and pick that up now. And we need to head to the house just to the northwest of the Xanaris Bank. And when you get there, use your tooth extractor on the door to pick the lock. Go inside and speak to Gnarly. Choose option 4, can I do something for you in return for the wand? And then we need to compliment him 3 or 4 times. And I'll post each of the compliments on screen you need to look for. It can be different for each person. So once you've given enough of the compliments, it will ask for some milk. So click to use your bucket of milk on Gnarly. Then go through the chat. Choose option 2, okay, I'll close my eyes. And then option 2 again, okay, keep your enamel on, I'll pick you up. So once you've done this, head out to the house and back to the fairy ring, and then you'll need to head to the Fairy Resistance HQ again. Once you get in here, head back into the southeastern room. Speak to the Tooth Fairy, and you will hand over the wand. Once you've finished speaking to her, then go and click on the projector again and watch another briefing. Once again, this is a cutscene that can't be skipped. So after the briefing is finished, go through the chat and choose option 2, yes, I understand all of that. Then option 2 again, yes, I accept. Option 3, pain, bring it on, replace my tooth. And then option 4, okay, thanks. So after the chat, go and stand on the yellow flowers just to the south. And then go into your emote and use the wave emote. That'll trigger a cutscene. So keep going through the chat during the cutscene. And then after that you can head back to the southwest and exit through the fairy ring. So for this next section, make sure you've got your Drayman or Lunar staff with you and 4 regular planks and 8 nails of any kind, as well as 8 willow logs if you want to do the extra few steps during the quest. So first we need to head north to the mill, which is the building in the centre of Xanaris, and speak to General Bregath. He should be stood just outside the building. Choose option 3, what's wrong with your mouse? Next, speak to any of the other orcs wandering around the area. And choose option 4, do you know anything about Ka-chunk? Go through the chat. And then head back down towards the fairy ring. When you get down there, speak to Fairy Fix-It and say option 2, what do you know about Ka-chunk? And go through her chat and then use the fairy ring to teleport to DIP. You should end up on a little island here with Ka-chunk on it. So go ahead and pickpocket him. Make sure you've got an inventory space. If you've not got an inventory space, you can light the fire and fix the bridge to the west of the island first. Now the bridge is a little bit difficult to find. You have to just find the right spot where it allows you to click on it. But it should be over and the little bits of wood sticking out. So that allows you to get across the bridge for later. Light the campfire and then pickpocket Ka-chunk. If you haven't already, then you'll get his tooth and then you can head back through the fairy ring. And we need to go to BKQ. When you get here, run to the south to the green area through the waterfall. You can just click through it, you don't have to actually click on the waterfall. There will be a wood dryad walking around, go speak to them. Choose option 2, have you seen Gromblod? And then go through the chat. Then run a little bit south and speak to General Gromblod. Go through his chat. And then speak to the wood dryad again. So it'll give you a fairy ring code, so head back up through the waterfall and use the fairy ring and travel to CLR. This will teleport you to Apertal. There will be a mango tree. You just pick a piece of fruit and unblock the hollow log while you're here. And then select destination on the fairy ring and go to BKQ. That will take you back to the waterfall area. Run back south through the waterfall once again and speak to General Gromblod. And you will hand over the mango you've just picked. So when he throws it, go ahead and find where he threw the mango and pick it up off the floor. And then use the tooth extractor, or just click extract tooth. and you'll have 2 of the 3 teeth we need. So next, head back up to the fairy ring. Choose ALP. And when you get here, run to the north and speak to General Shredflesh. So to start with, choose option 4, can I help with something? And then option 1, so your tooth is really hurting, is it? Then option 2, which tooth is it that is so terribly painful and hurting? Then option 3, and the pain is very high, is it? And then option 4, I'm a dentist, I can extract it for you. So after you've given him those options, there are 4 more options you need to give him to convince him to let him pull your tooth out. And these can be in any order, so I will put them on the screen. But the 4 options that you need to choose are: what's a bit of pain for a huge orc hero like you? If the tooth isn't pulled out, all your teeth will hurt much worse. Let me pull it, what are you, an orc or a goblin? And I'll make sure it doesn't hurt a bit, I'm a professional. So once you've given him all 4 of those options, you should have convinced him to let you extract his tooth. So go ahead and use the tooth extractor on him, and you will get a cutscene. And once the cutscene's over, go ahead and clear the rocks on the cavern wall just to the north of him. And that will open that up for later, so you don't need to come back. And then head back to the fairy ring and head back to the HQ. You can just choose the option at the bottom and it'll send you to the right place. And then head up to the southeastern room and speak to the Tooth Fairy again. So go through the Tooth Fairy's chat, and then when she's finished, click on the projector to watch another briefing. When you're finished with the chat, choose option 5, OK, thanks. And then head back to the fairy ring. So now there is a bit of combat coming, so make sure you have combat equipment and food and whatever you need with you, as well as the 3 teeth, the fairy wand, and your Drayman or Lunar staff. So you're going to head to the fairy ring, and then we're going to go to Orc's Rift. So I'll put these on the screen if needed. But when you click on the fairy ring, it should show up at the bottom of the travel log. You can see it says Orc's Rift. So you just need to head to these one at a time, starting with BIR. Now this one can glitch out. You should be in a little area just south of Xanaris. If the fairy ring is not here, just lobby and log back in again. Then head back to the main one in Xanaris. The next one is DIP. This one should take you to the little island where we fixed the bridge and lit the fire. Now the next one is CLR. Now on my screen on the video I made a mistake and had to go back and fix it later, which I don't have on camera. So the next one is CLR, and this one should take you to Apatow, where we picked the mango and unclogged the log. So if you don't end up there, then it won't work. Head back to Xanaris again. And then next go to ALP. If you end up in the cave after typing ALP, it means it's something is done wrong, so you have to go back and start it again. You should end up in an area like this. So once you're here, go over to the lit up vine things just to the east and look through the fairy tree. That will trigger a cutscene, so just go through the chat. Then after the cutscene, head over and speak to the Tooth Fairy, who should be just next to the fairy ring, and go through her chat. So now we need to kill the fairy Godfather. So I'll put the instructions on the screen for a minute, just so you can pause and have a read through, and then we will go through the fight. So the first thing that you need to do is use the 3 teeth we've collected on the 3 farming patches. And then you just have to wait for them to grow. It is a bit easier if you turn auto retaliate off while you're trying to plant them, because you will be getting attacked by the generals at the same time. Just make sure all 3 teeth are planted. And then go ahead and kill the generals and the orc warriors and anything that's around. So once they've grown, they will come out of that little purple shell they're in. You need to instruct them to fight. So there we go, the first one. So all you need to do is right click and click fight on each of them once they come out. And then if you focus on killing the orc warriors, then the teeth will focus on killing the generals. That makes it a little bit easier. Or you can join in if you are high enough level that you can do it yourself. Now if the teeth die, they will go back to the farming patch. You have to wait for them to grow again. So if they do seem to disappear, don't worry, they will come back in a minute. So all you've got to do is just keep your health up, work your way through all of the generals and all of the orc warriors until the only one that is left is the fairy Godfather. So once everything else is killed, you need to start attacking the fairy Godfather. Now he has some shields around him, And the only way to get rid of this is for each of the teeth to attack him. So you'll notice once all the teeth died on mine, my attacks didn't do anything. So if that happens, just go over and stand near the farming patches. The fairy godfather won't come over and attack you here, so just stand and wait for them to grow again. If your teeth haven't died, you don't need to do this bit, so I will just skip the wait. So once they're all grown, right click on them, get them to attack again. And head down and get all 3 of them to attack the fairy godfather. If it gets stuck, you can click follow me and pull it to the side. Once you've killed the fairy godfather, let his health down, click and speak to him to go through his chat. Just watch through the cutscene, you can't skip this cutscene anyway. And once the fairy godfather's gone, continue going through the chat with the fairy queen. Once she gives you the option to teleport, after all the chat, you will end up back at the HQ. So once this is done, she'll give you a magic watering can and you can choose option 1 to yes please teleport you out. You'll end up back in Draenor. And finally, speak to Martin the Master Gardener and choose option 2, talk about farming problems and fairies. And that will give you quest complete. So for completing this quest, you will receive 2 quest points, 11,000 farming XP, 11,000 thieving XP, 11,000 magic XP, 1,000 summoning XP, 1,000 crafting XP, the magic watering can, free access to the Xanaris market, and the ability to use the fairy rings to get into Xanaris and around without using the Luna or Draymond staff. You get the ability to fetch teeth to get a tooth creature by speaking to the tooth fairy after the quest. You will now have the option to have gardeners to keep all your farming patches weed free. So to do this, you need to speak to Martin the Master Gardener after the quest, then speak to the gardener at the farming patches once it's free of weeds already. So well done and quest complete.